Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Yes, Mayor, we do. We have roughly about 20 comments. First ones I will read are general comments. Julia Smith, I would like to say that I have been baffled over the possible decision to discontinue allowing Coyote Aviation to lease at the Redlands Airport. I have read through letters and records regarding the situation and now feel I can address the esteemed council in written form without being snarky or cynical. You have already heard from an abundance of community members telling you the Browns have positively affected our city in countless ways. You've been made aware of all the lives they've touched. I echo all the feel-good sentiments submitted to you. They have made Redlands a better place. They are what is good about Redlands. My personality likes to get to the point and bottom line issues or problems. The bottom line to me appears that the city of Redlands is looking for a teensy technicality in order to oust a longtime small business from Redlands Airport in order for the city to reap more profits. This seems like a sort of Mr. Potter versus George Bailey scenario to me. I would urge you to do the right thing versus doing the greedy thing. Keep Redlands wonderful. Charlene Frizzell, please do the right thing and extend the lease of Coyote Aviation as in the original agreements. Whichever representatives of the city of Redlands have an agenda to do otherwise, look at their motives. There is also a reason when leaders act immorally. Make your constituents proud and stand up for what is right for once. Trent Grove. We are proud supporters of Coyote Aviation because they took a young boy's dream and made it reality when he got to fly an airplane for the first time and share that experience with his father. I was that young boy, and that day still stands as one of my most vivid memories. My father had been diagnosed with cancer, and our good family friend took us on an outing in his plane. The emotions felt from both my dad and myself that day are immeasurable. An otherwise difficult to realize dream was just placed in our laps and realized. Now the facility and people that made that happen are threatened, and it saddens me greatly. Our pride was displayed in 2 Save Coyote Aviation signs that disappeared from our front lawn on or around May 26th. Other signs have gone missing, but the support for Coyote Aviation still remains and cannot be silenced. Please don't allow Coyote to pass into history books as only a memory. We need more people and businesses like this in our city. Passionate, good-hearted people. Don't let a man who realized his dream watch it be taken from him and his family. Don't make me have to tell the story to my kids about what used to be, but instead be able to walk them up to the very hangar and see the very plane that made their dad feel like all things in this world are possible, if only you dream. Bill Ingram. I would like to expand on comments I previously made about lease terms. When I became the director of airports for San Bernardino County in January of 2001, I noted that there had been no investment in airport hangars since the 1970s. One thing was clear. The county did not have the resources to build hangar facilities. Private developers were unwilling to enter into agreements with the county. The problem from the developer's perspective was the county's standard lease agreements, which provided no more than 20 years to recover their investment. It wasn't until I made a business case based on the realistic assumptions of development costs, CPIs, return on investment, and demand for facilities did the county agree to modify their agreements. The most significant change was to allow for longer-term agreements. This opened the door to development. Over the next few years, there were 4 development projects at Chino Airport, 3 by airport real estate and development firms, and 1 by an international aviation business. The ground lease term for these agreements varied based on specifics of each development, but none would work without at least a 20-year initial term and a couple of option periods. In my experience, such hangar developments do not typically provide a return on investment sufficient to justify costs unless lease terms extend beyond 35 years. I doubt that these developers would have taken the risk if the county did not intend to act in good faith and see the agreements through to full term, including options.
Convene the City Council meeting to order. Next, we'll have the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance by me. Let us do the best to make the best decisions for the citizens of Redlands. Protect our police, fire, and all of our employees. We are lucky to have them. And please bless the citizens of Redlands. Put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which
it stands,
one
a nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Mr. McHugh, closed session report.
Mayor, there was no reportable action this evening.
Thank you. Moving on to public comment. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. We do. We have a total of about 9 comments. First one's general. Peter Hall, I am writing this email to urge the council to stop following the state of California's COVID-19 emergency restrictions. The state of emergency and the resulting restrictions have been ongoing for a year and a half. It is beyond time for cities and counties and the people living in them to exercise their God-given constitutional authority. If we keep following what Governor Newsom says, and I use that title very loosely, we'll never be back to normal because he's going to do everything he can to extend the state of emergency and look for excuses to reinstate the COVID-19 mandates. As it is, I believe the Redlands City Council is using the state of emergency as an excuse to hide from the citizens of Redlands. You are pushing through new developments that we voted against last year. We voted down Measure G, and yet you have gone out of your way to circumvent the will of the people. Not only are you approving developments we don't want, you're passing on the costs of these developments to us instead of having the developers pay for it. We see what you have done and what you are doing now and what you plan to do, and we are not happy about it. In fact, our anger and frustration is growing. Open the city council back up to the public. Stop requiring people to wear face masks and social distancing, and let life return to normal. Dennis Belt, at the last council meeting, one agenda item was the new sports fields rental policy. During the discussion, it was mentioned the sports park cost about $10 million. What wasn't mentioned was how much taxpayers are still on the hook for it and what the annual debt payments are. It was also mentioned the field's revenue doesn't cover those costs. Measure T money would be used to make up the shortfall. The official ballot language for Measure T says nothing about covering revenue shortfalls. T money isn't to cover the city's long-term financial mismanagement and undercharging on Sweetheart rental and lease of its sports field, aircraft hangars, Sewell Theater, and Mission Gables house that have cost taxpayers millions. Then, Yucaipa Highland and Beaumont are allowing in-person attendance at their 4th of July fireworks show. So why isn't Redlands? The only ones that are going to be able to see it are those east of the I-10 freeway. I want to see how the city intends to keep those away who want to attend. It should be held at the Redlands High School football stadium along with high school graduations. Rosemary Vanix, consider the following scenario from the perspective of a landlord. You have one of the several similar tenants who, at his own offering, has paid from the outset almost double your then existing rate rent for unimproved land. You now describe this as a sweetheart deal, despite the fact that this tenant's rent has been raised according to the CPI nearly twice as often as the other equal tenants. Still, the tenant offers no complaint, just timely payment, and at his own expense has turned this portion of a property into an acknowledged showplace, consistently judged demonstrably superior to that of the other equal tenants who pay a lower rate with less frequent increases. By the way, this tenant is also a model citizen, dearly loved for his devotion and many contributions to his lifelong community. Please choose the most appropriate word to describe this tenant. A, ideal, B, altruistic, C, irreplaceable, D, all of the above. Please choose which side of the following debate proposal you would prefer to espouse. Would the landlord's best approach be to keep this tenant, maybe even or try to utilize his model and skills to improve the situation at the other tenants' properties? Or would he be wiser to evict this tenant or raise his rent by over tenfold, tantamount to eviction, with the expectation that his property portfolio will do better without the model tenant? Be prepared to present your reasoning to the class. Citizenry. David Vanix, consider following scenario from the perspective of a tenant on rent-controlled property. Your landlord has abruptly terminated your lease early, violating contractual terms. while avoiding your timely requests for communication and potential negotiation before lease end. No recourse is offered, leaving you no option to protect your rights, save to bring the landlord's actions to public scrutiny and to propose legal action. This is met with no communication, negotiation from the landlord. After months of this silent torture, you are offered a new lease at a 620% price increase, which precludes your continued business survival. That's right. The landlord purports the value of his unimproved land, not your building, has somehow increased over 13% every single year since you arrived, 12 times original value in 20 years. So demands from you for the business you built 12 times the original land rent, and that you give your building, for which the landlord has paid nothing, to him at the end of this lease. Otherwise, the landlord plans to evict you, seize your building, and rent it out for themselves. Now, please choose the most appropriate phrase to describe this landlord. A, unethical and bullying. B, unbelievably greedy. C, overdue for replacement. D, all of the above. Please choose whether you would prefer to be the lawyer PR rep for the landlord or for the tenant. Be prepared to present your winning legal argument, press briefing for your chosen side to the class. Citizenry.